Assalamu alaikum students. Maths 4024 coordinate geometry is the topic, and this is exercise 6D, question number 15. It is on page number 166. D3 7th edition is the book. This question is different from the other questions because there is a new concept introduced in this question, and that is of perpendicular bisector. And in this question, three coordinates have been given to us. The first one is the A, 1 and 2. The second one is B, the coordinates are 6 and 7, and the third point is C, the coordinates are 7 and 2. And these are the vertices of a triangle, and we have to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector. We have two parts in this question. In the first part, we have to find the perpendicular bisector of AB, equation of perpendicular bisector of AB, and in the second part, we have to find the equation of perpendicular bisector of BC. So first we will discuss some previous concepts. For example, we know that when we have to find the equation of a line, we need to find two things first. The first thing is the slope, which can be calculated by the formula m is equals to y2 minus y1 upon x2 minus x1. And the next concept is the y-intercept, that is represented by C. We need to calculate the y-intercept, and in order to calculate the y-intercept, we need slope, and we also need one point on that line. And by putting the values of x, y, and m in the general equation, that is y is equals to mx plus c, we can find out the value of c. And when the slope and the value of c has been calculated, we just have to plug in the values in the general form again to get the final equation of the line. This was done in exercise 6C. We did a lot of questions on this concept. We have to find the equation of a line again in this question, but there is a new terminology, that is the perpendicular bisector. So starting with the question, I have first plotted this diagram on a graph. These are my vertices A, 1 and 2. This is basically B, that is 6 and 7, and this is C, that is 7 and 2. So I have drawn my triangle on a Cartesian plane or a coordinate plane. And now I will just focus on this word. What is basically this perpendicular bisector? It has two words. First word is the perpendicular and the second one is the bisector. For example, I have drawn a rough figure over here. This is my triangle ABC, and I have to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of AB. So I will draw a line. Since this is a perpendicular bisector, so I know that bisector means this line will divide my side into two equal parts. We know that word bisector means bi means two and sect means cut. So I have drawn a line. This is a bisector. Why? Because this line is cutting my side AB into two equal parts. And since this line is a bisector, so it must pass from a point which will exactly be in the center. So I can say that this point will be the midpoint of A and B. So this perpendicular bisector will pass from the midpoint of A and B because it is bisecting my line AB into two equal parts. The next thing is the word perpendicular. Perpendicular means this side AB, and the perpendicular bisector is perpendicular to each other, means they will be making an angle of 90 degree. And I know that I have the knowledge of perpendicular lines. I know that the slope of my line AB and this perpendicular has a relation. So if I can find the slope of line AB, which I can find out because I have the coordinates of A and B, so I can find the slope of line AB. And when I will get the slope of line AB, I can calculate the slope of this perpendicular bisector because I know the relationship between two perpendicular lines. So this is basically the concept of perpendicular bisector, means the line will pass through the midpoint, and this line and the side will be perpendicular to each other. So I have to find two things first. The first thing is the midpoint. So I will first calculate the midpoint, and I know that I have a formula for that. So I will write the first thing, that is the midpoint. I have to find the midpoint of AB. I know that since A is the first point, and I will mark it as x1 and y1. The coordinates of A is, so this is basically my x1 and this is my y1. So I will label it as x1 and y1. And the next point is B. The coordinates of B is 6 and 7. So I will write 6 and 7. And since this is my second point, so I will label it as x2 and y2. So this is the labeling and I have the formula. The formula for the midpoint, midpoint is represented by capital M, and I know that midpoint is a point, so the answer will always be in the form of a point. And I know that I have to add all the x values. So the x value over here is 1 and there is 6. So 1 plus 6 is 7. So the first coordinate or the x1 value will be 7 upon 2. And I know that y1 plus y2 and 2 plus 7 is 9. So the other point will be 9 upon 2. So this is basically the midpoint. And I know the midpoint. I know the point from where my perpendicular bisector will pass. And now I will calculate the slope of line AB. In order to calculate the slope of line AB, I have the formula again. I have to show some working over here. I will write slope. And since I have to find AB, so A is my first point and this is x1, y1. B is my second point, that is x2, y2. So slope will be equal to, I know that y2 minus y1. So my y2 is 7 and my y1 is 2. So 7 minus 2 and divided by x2 minus x1. Again, the value of x2 is 6 and the value of x1 is 1. So 6 minus 1 again. And I know that 7 minus 2 is 5 upon 5 and the slope of this line is equal to 1. So I know that if AB has a slope of 1, if AB has a slope of 1, this line is perpendicular to AB. So what will be the slope of the perpendicular bisector? So I can write it like this. The slope of, I'm writing it in the short. The slope of perpendicular bisector. So I am writing perpendicular, and instead of writing whole bisector, I am just writing bisect. Since the line AB has a slope of 1, so the perpendicular bisector will have a slope of minus 1, because I know that the product of the slope will be equal to minus 1. Or I can also do the easy way, that is the reciprocal and the negative reciprocal. I mean, the negative reciprocal will be minus 1. So the slope of the perpendicular line is minus 1. And now I know that in order to write the equation, I need two things. The first thing is the slope. In order to write the equation of this perpendicular bisector, I have the slope, that is m is equals to minus 1, and I need one point. I need one point, that is y-intercept. For y-intercept, first I will write for y-intercept, because I have to calculate the value of c. So in order to calculate the value of c, I need slope, that is equal to minus 1, and another thing is one point on that line. So since this is the midpoint and the perpendicular bisector is passing through this midpoint, so I can use this midpoint and I can write it like this. The value of x is basically 7 upon 2, because I can use this point. This point lies on the line, and the value of y is 9 upon 2. So I know the general form of the equation, that is y is equals to mx plus c, and I have to find the value of c. So I have to plug the values of m, x and y. So I know the value of y is 9 upon 2, and my slope is minus 1, and the value of x is 7 upon 2 and plus c. So I have to, in order to find the value of c, I have to shift this 7 upon 2 on the other side. This is the negative 7 upon 2. When it will go on the other side, it will become positive. So it will be like this, 9 upon 2 and then this positive 7 upon 2 equals to C, and now I have to take LCM. 2 is the LCM, and 9 plus 7 will be 16, and 2 divided by 16 will be 8. So the value of C is 8, and I know that in order to write the equation of a line, I need slope that is equals to -1, and the other thing is the y-intercept, that is C. So the final equation of the line will be equals to y is equals to, in place of m I have to write -1, and when -1 will be multiplied with x, it will become -x, and plus c, the value of c is 8, or I can also write it like this, y plus x equals to 8. So this is basically the equation of the perpendicular bisector AB. The second part is you have to find the equation of the perpendicular bisector BC, and now it's your turn to try this part, and you have to follow the same procedure. First you have to find the midpoint, and since this is side BC, so I will draw a line like this. This is basically the perpendicular bisector of BC, and this is the midpoint. So you have to find the midpoint first, and you know the value of B. The coordinates of B is 6, 7, and the coordinate of C is 7, 2. So first you will find the midpoint, and then you will find the slope of BC. When you will be getting the slope of BC, you know that this line is perpendicular, so you must use the relation to find the value, to find the slope of the perpendicular bisector, and then you have to find the y-intercept and then write the equation. Try the second part, and you can see the working. You have to follow the same working.